Good afternoon and welcome. This is the great KBC. You're just in time for lunchtime news, and we have lined up a number of story items for you, including on business, where we'll be talking about automating emergency services. And I'll be hosting Daniel Mutian, founder and CEO of Rescue Pal Limited. And in sports, we keep up with what is happening in Canada, Mexico, and the United States in the FIFA World Cup. Welcome. My name is Njue. Anne Wangeshi is my colleague on the sign language interpretation. Remember, we are also live on our social media spaces. We begin with Matters Graft, where the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has arrested former Director of Political Affairs at the Taita Taveta County Government, Geoffrey Kimonde Mbogo, over allegations of corruption and economic crimes. According to the EACC, Mbogo acquired public funds fraudulently and failed to amount to 12.4 million in interest he was paid while serving at the Taita Taveta County Government between November 2025 and December of 2026. Very well, and now we cross over to Kiamombi in Kiambu County, where Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja is currently addressing the press matter security. Let's first of all listen in.
Mimi nataka tushikane pamoja, tufanye kazi pamoja kama wananchi ya Kenya. Si ni kweli? Sisi kama maofisa ya jeshi la polisi na nyinyi kama wananchi wetu. Si ni kweli? Tufanye kazi pamoja in the community partnership. Na tukifanya namna hiyo tutafaulu, si ni kweli? Tutafaulu na tutasoga mbele sana. Sio? Tutaenda mbele vizuri. Ile kitu kingine ningetaka kusema kama vile Mr. Langat mentioned hapo mbele, we want to make our stations the centers of excellence for service delivery. Ndio wewe ukija kwa hii station ambayo ni ya Kiamubi hapa, unachughulikiwa mara moja na unaenda shughuli zile zingine uko nazo. Si ni kweli? Hatutaki a situation whereby unakuja Kiamubi, unakuja usubuhi saa 2, hapa unakuja kuondoka saa 10, unaondoka saa 8. Hapana, hatutaki namna hiyo, ndio. Na mimi nataka kuchukua nafasi hii Madam Florence kwa kazi ambao wamefanya kazi mzuri. Si ni kweli? Nyinyi wenyewe mmesema hapa, mimi nilikuwa nimeketi hapa. Hako sawa kabisa zidi. Mimi hata wale ma-OCS wengine wote, wherever they are, nataka wafanye kazi kama Florence Mogeri, sio? Akiungana na community, wakiungana pamoja, Kenya yetu inazidi kuwa mzuri. Kenya inakuwa mzuri, si ni kweli? Kwa hivyo, ma-officers ya polisi, mimi nawauliza, nyinyi wananchi mfanye kazi pamoja, shikana pamoja na ma-officers wa gao, the chiefs, the sub-chiefs, the DCCs, the ACCs, pamoja na mfanye kazi pamoja na kila kitu itakuwa iko sawa sawa. Si ni kweli? Hapo saa hizi nyinyi mnajua mahali tunalenga. Tunaelekea, si ndio? Tunaelekea kwa elections. Kwa hivyo mpaka tusikana pamoja, mpaka tufanye pamoja, kazi pamoja kama wananchi na jeshi la polisi, ndio wahalifu wasigie katikati ya nini? Yetu. Si ni kweli? Maana sisi tuko na wajibu moja kama jeshi la polisi, to ensure that we provide an enabling environment to enable you exercise your civic duties. Si ni kweli? Kwa hivyo mimi nawaomba tufanye kazi pamoja, tukisoga mbele na mambo yote itakuwa iko vizuri, si ndio? Muhalifu, na mimi nimefurahia sana wa viongozi wa nyumba 10, nimefurahia sana viongozi wa wananchi wale wako hapa kuchikana na maofisa yetu na wananchi upande ule, maana hiyo hakuna ukora ambao inasaidia katikati yenu. Si ni kweli? Kwa hivyo mimi nasema asante sana. That is a very commendable job. Kwa hivyo maofisa wetu hapa mshikane pamoja na hawa wananchi wote na mfanye kazi pamoja na Kiamubi itakuwa mzuri. Na nimesema namna hiyo because I'm a resident of Kiamubi. Si ni kweli? Na mimi sijasikia maneno hapo, maneno mingi. Si ni kweli? Mimi sijasikia, na hata mimi niko kwa hiyo mtandao na mimi naonaga tu. Mimi naangalia, mimi naona huyo ni muogezi. amesema maofisa wale wako duty, si ndio? Na mimi nafurahia, sio? Maana kama kuna maneno mimi nitapigia hiyo ofisa wako duty. Sema mimi naitwa Kaja na mimi nakaa hapa na mimi nimeona maneno hapa. Alafu polisi atatokeza, si kweli? Atatokeza. Kwa hivyo nataka tuendelee namna hiyo na tufanye kazi vizuri namna hiyo. Taja maneno ya magari. Niseme hivi, bado tunazidi kupata magari.
That has been the Inspector General of Police, Douglas Kanja, at the Kiamombi Police Station, where he is commissioning a new administration block. And in his speech, I've been able to pick up just a few of his sentiments, where he's talking about the administration block is geared towards easing service delivery, especially to the residents of Kiamombi in Kiambu County, and also urging residents to work closely with the police, including volunteering information in regards to matters crime. More of that in our subsequent bulletin, and I have to apologize for some technical hitch in regards to that clip. But moving on, Fortune Aimaya Losike, a grade 10 student who died during the Utumishi Academy in Fano 2 weeks ago, has been laid to rest in an emotional ceremony at Towokayeni village in Turkana County. Mourners at the event eulogized the late Fortune as a hard-working learner who perished while trying to save her schoolmates during the fire tragedy. Area leaders who attended the burial pleaded with the government to fast-track investigations into the incident and also compensate all 16 families who lost their kin.
In her final moments, during the tragic school fire, she displayed remarkable courage and selflessness, choosing to help others despite the danger she faced.
Bwana Rais, tafadhali ona vile utakompensate wazazi ya hao watoto 16. Isikuwe tu namna hiyo. Najua kwamba hiyo compensation haitarudisha mtoto, lakini heri hivyo kuliko kuacha tu namna hiyo.
May Fortune rest in peace. Moving on, the government has issued land green cards to more than 700 farmers under the Bura irrigation scheme in Tana River County to enable them to settle on a 2,000-acre piece of land set aside for settlement, marking a major milestone in resolving long-standing land ownership concerns in the scheme. Irrigation Principal Secretary Ephantus Kemotho said surveyors have been deployed to identify additional land for expansion for agricultural production in the area, while also carving out sections for investors and community settlement. Kemotho added that 55 million shillings have been allocated for the construction of the bridges. Bura Member of Parliament Yakub Ado, who was the host, said the project will improve transportation in the area, enhance security, reduce the impact of flooding, and protect farmers' crops from damage.
Kuja hapa kutimiza ahadi ambayo rais wetu His Excellency the President William Samoei Ruto ambaye alipatia wananchi. Alipokuja hapa alikuja akasema hizi mambo ya green card zote to make sure tumepatiana, na akasema tupatiane green card baada ya kuensure wananchi wanaweza pata maji. So ya kwanza leo tumekuja hapa kupatia wananchi green cards over 2,000 acres ambao zitakubadhiwa 720 people. Hii laga kukinyesha inasumbuanga watu sana, na imekuwa ni changamoto mkubwa sana kwa wananchi wa hii area. Ukinyesha wanabidi waende mpaka kwa main road ndio warudi pande nyingine.
Tumeongea na contractor hapa, ameanzishwa rasmi na amepewa miezi 6-7, na tunatarajia kwa uwezo wa Mwenyezi Mungu Disemba ama Januari tutakuja hapa. Kabla kuja kuomba kura, tutalaunch hii bridge inshallah.
Kazi ambayo PS ameweza kutupatia.
In other news, members of the Kisii County Assembly have approved a 22 billion shillings budget for the 2026-27 financial year. The budget comprises 14.03 billion shillings for recurrent expenditure and 7.97 billion shillings for development. The county's Budget and Appropriations Committee Chairperson Peter Otachi said the Department of Water and Sanitation Services received the lion's share of 2.56 billion shillings to enhance water infrastructure in the county. He further noted that they will be completing and equipping the milk factory that is at the Agricultural Training Center ATC at a cost of 433 million shillings.
To pass the budget estimates for the financial year 2026-2027. And I want to report that we have a budget of 22 billion shillings And this 22 billion, we are anticipating to collect revenues of our own source revenue to a tune of 3.7 billion. I also want to report that this budget has good things for the people of Kisii County because we factored in purchase of maram at 80 million and fuel at 120, which will facilitate the construction of roads across the county. Number two, we also have the highest budget for water, which will be 2.25 billion. We also have a feeding program of 450 million, and this one will actually go to ensure that our kids get milk. And as governor has always indicated, we want to ensure that we give milk to grade 2. So we will be giving to PP1, PP2, grade 1, and also grade 2.
From matters budget to matters governance, where political parties have been challenged to fully involve young people in leadership and decision-making processes to enhance their understanding of electoral matters and promote inclusivity. Office of the Registrar of Political Parties Coast Regional Coordinator Njue claimed many young people failed to vie for various elective positions due to a lack of understanding of electoral procedures and a situation, largely caused by their exclusion from active participation by party leaders. Meanwhile, youths who attended the forum said that unemployment has left many of them vulnerable to exploitation by politicians.
Ni the lack of information. Wengi wao wanapata information za kisiasa kutoka wanasiasa wenzao na the party leaders kutoka mtandaoni, lakini wengi wao hawajui processes zenyewe.
Na ni muhimu sana vijana wahusishwe, kwa sababu sasa kama kwa government ama hata kwa hizi parties ndio maamuzi yanafanyika.
Jamani, vijana hawana kazi. Watafutieni vijana kazi, wapate pesa mfukoni, ndio hii culture ya goonism itaisha.
I have that fear kwamba those new polling stations zinaweza kutumika wakati wa uchaguzi kufanyiwa ukora. Kwa hivyo I urge the IBC wa take this initiative, waende mashinani, wahamasishe vijana, wahamasishe jamii.
Still on matters touching on the youth, West Pokot Governor Simon Kachapin has lauded the International Conference on the Great Lakes Region Youth Forum convened by the youth across the Karamoja cluster region. Kachapin said involving young people in peace-building efforts will help drive development within the region. Leaders who attended the forum challenged young people to always value peace and avoid being used in endless raids.
And we thank our government because through the stakeholders and also through national security, we can say we have relative peace. And this relative peace, we can now concentrate with the resources we have to ensure that we give development to our people.
To matters elections now, where youth in Kisumu and the vast Nyanza region have been challenged to prioritize and promote peace and tranquility ahead of the 2027 general election. The appeal was made during a sensitization forum in Kisumu organized by the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties. Kisumu has notably been in the headlines in the recent past for rampant hooliganism reportedly perpetuated by goons and facilitated by the political class. Kisumu County Commissioner Ramadan Mwabuzo cautioned young people against extortion by selfish leaders, warning dire legal consequences. The county commissioner further urged youth to collect over 15,000 identity cards lying idle across the county to enable them enlist as voters ahead of next year's election.
We are discouraging this hooliganism kind of behavior, the goonism kind of architect which has patterned this town. We have warned all the leaders of those groups that we are going to take very stern action against anyone who will be identified, will be singled out as a goon.
We expect youth from Kisumu and generally the entire country to be actively involved constructively the management and governance of elections and the political parties in this country. because the law allows them, the law gives them room, the provision, the regulations that allow them to participate actively and not just be used as tools.
You cannot be ranting one term, two term all over, and you do not have the strategies. First of all, you must register as a voter. Second of all, you must acquire civic education to understand how these things work.
Still on matters election, the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties has undertaken training for women leaders in Uasin Gishu County on electoral laws, political party regulations, and the responsible use of digital platforms during elections ahead of the 2027 general election. Speaking during the training held at Rift Valley Technical Training Institute, ORPP, North Rift Coordinator Hassan Maloba said the exercise is part of a nationwide voter education and stakeholder engagement program being conducted simultaneously in 13 regions across the country.
We look at the composition of the founding members and ensure that it adheres to the 2/3 gender principle. After professional registration, we also look at the governing body to ensure that it also meets the 2/3 gender principle.
Women in Kenya are actually the highest when it comes to voting. So when we sensitize them and they are with their own kids, we shall get a good turnout eventually. You realize the turnout during by-elections is even below 30%. And that is why we really appreciate sensitization, so that they come in large numbers during elections and ask the kind of questions they don't know for us to clarify.
Wamama mjue sisi ndio watu wa mbele, na ningehimiza wamama wote wenye tuko hapa na tukirudi nyumbani tuko na watoto, tuko na wazee, tuwahimize mambo na kuchukua kura na tusiogope, tufanye uchaguzi wa fair and clear ndio tupate viongozi wanao wanastahili.
From Uasin Gishu to the sandy beaches of the coast, where over 1,000 households in Kuapunda, Jomvu constituency are set to receive title deeds following the launch of land survey activities by the Mombasa County government in partnership with the national government. Mombasa County Executive Committee member for Lands, Mohammed Hussein, urged locals to support the exercise and remain vigilant against any political interference that could derail the process. Hussein said the survey is a crucial step towards securing land ownership rights for residents and addressing long-standing land disputes in the area.
Na siasa ambayo mtaikubali ni ile siasa ya maendeleo, siasa ambayo itaweza kuleta natija, hizi title deeds zitoke. Lakini siasa ya fitina, tafadhalini fukuzeni uwe mtu mbali sana. Ati mtu hapa atakuja na slogan sijui one term, sijui two term. Hakuna mtu atamiliki shamba na story ya one term ama two term, ni hati miliki.
Away from matters election, fear has gripped Garissa following increased cases of disappearances of children and youth in a suspected human trafficking syndicate. Locals claim the group targets mainly young people seeking better economic opportunities in foreign countries. Speaking during the commemoration of the Day of the African Child in Garissa, Garissa Sub-County Education Officer Nastea Sheikh called for concerted efforts from all stakeholders, including the elders and religious leaders, to protect the children from trafficking.
Children are being beaten up. Their parents are asking for ransoms, which are almost 3 million, from parents who are poor already or who are coming from a humble background. It's affecting us, and I want to urge all leaders, and religious leaders, and government leaders, parents, and responsible citizens to be very vigilant so that our children are safe.
Mumeletwa hapa kusomeshwa, musome na mukimaliza kazi mutapata. Kazi mutapata na time ya kazi itafika, lakini sahi ni masomo.
Yoyote ambaye atapatikana akipelekwa nje ya nchi na mzazi wake hana habari, atashikwa na afunguliwe mashtaka. Tumeelewana? Kwa hivyo nyinyi wanafunzi msikubali kudanganywa kabisa.
The Office of the Registrar of Political Parties, in collaboration with the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, has rolled out a series of capacity-building forums for political party officials, aspirants, civil society and faith-based organizations in Isiolo County ahead of the 2027 general election. Speaking during the forum, ORPP's Upper Eastern Regional Coordinator Mohammed Guleid said the training seeks to equip locals with knowledge on Political Parties Act, Election Act and other laws relating to elections in readiness for next year's exercise.
Today we are here, we are sensitizing the political party officials. Currently what we are doing, we are training, a training intended for county political party officials, which we call SIGs, special interest group, including women, youth, PWDs and faith-based organizations, as a part of electoral preparedness for 2027 general election.
Leo tumekuwa na fursa kukutana na ofisi ya political parties na IBC wakiwa kwa pamoja na mawakili ambao wanatufunza umuhimu wa hii political parties, mambo ya election, mambo ya uwiano na mambo ya kuifuatilia sheria vile ilivyo.
To matter security, where tension is high in Njoro town, Nakuru County, following the killing of a guard at the controversial Modera farm. Locals claim the man was shot with a poisoned arrow while he was on patrol. They say the area has witnessed a string of murders and land clashes, calling on police to take stern action on a suspected farmer who has leased a section of the controversial 4,200-acre property.
Alikimbishwa hata kutoka ndani ya shamba, akajaribu kutorokea usalama, akaja kuuawa nje ya shamba msituni porini mahali akiomba huruma. Na kwa hivyo wale watu waliomuua, ina maana kwamba walikuwa na instructions za kutosha kwamba lazima muhakikishe mmeangusha mtu, kwa sababu hata baada ya kuomba huruma bado waliendelea na kukamaliza. Sub county na hata county yenyewe imesimama kwa upande mmoja kidete na kusema kwamba haitaki uhalifu. Na kwa hivyo tunatazamia tukienda mbele kwamba hawa waliotekeleza hili swala haya mauaji na wale pia walio finance mauaji haya wote wakusanywe pamoja na wakutane na mkono wa sheria.
In other news, more than 1,000 acres of land previously mined by base titanium in Kwale County have been rehabilitated and restored following the mining operations. The National Environment Management Authority, NEMA, has expressed satisfaction with the progress made in restoring the mined land. Speaking after a meeting with base titanium management and members of communities living around the mining area, NEMA Director of Compliance and Enforcement Ayub Masharia commended the company's rehabilitation efforts, including extensive tree planting initiatives aimed at restoring the environment. Masharia noted that the restored land is now ready for alternative productive use and will contribute to environmental conservation and community development.
You can see the bulldozers in the field flattening the land. They have already finished that. So they have already escaped the place. And most of the places there is grass growing and there are trees also growing there.
At least kampuni imejaribu sana. Maana nafikiri huo ndio ni mradi wa kwanza Kenya kuwa na uchimbaji wa madini na kuona hali inarudishwa kama vile ilivyokuwa mwanzo.
Now, and as the country gears toward the 2027 election, the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties, ORPP, IEBC, and various groups, including women, youth, and persons with disabilities, are now urging Kenyans to take responsibility and actively participate in the electoral process. Speaking in Machakos Town during an election preparedness and readiness forum that brought together ORPP, IEBC, and various groups, including women, youth, and persons with disabilities, Anastasia Kaberere from the ORPP said that involving every Kenyan in electoral matters will help strengthen the election process and demonstrate the growth of democracy. The IEBC warned that strict legal action will be taken against individuals who violate election laws. Women aspirants are urged to join political parties in order to strengthen their efforts in seeking elective positions.
So these programs are supposed to do a preparedness for all the citizens. We are trying to strengthen their participation in the election. Coming forward, we will continually train the special interest groups, we will continually train the political party leadership, we will continually train our other stakeholders so that we are all together in these forums.
Tunatayarisha wananchi wetu. Mimi nitaongea hasa kwa gatuzi la Machakos. Tunaangalia sheria, yale ambayo tutafanya na yale ambayo tusifanye ili tujitayarishe. Otherwise, throughout, if you are found on the other side of the law, definitely sheria itachukuliwa mkononi mwako.
Those ladies, women who feel like they should take up political positions, feel free, take courage and join political parties and participate in vie for any election, for any elective position.
Very well, at about 26 minutes past the top of the hour, time for me and Njue to take a quick break. But when we come back, I still have more stories to run you through. And as I mentioned earlier on, I'll be hosting Daniel Motian, who is the founder and CEO of RescuePal. An interesting company that focuses on automating emergency services. Not once, not twice we've had emergencies, and the response has taken quite a while, especially when it comes to fires. That discussion and much, much more. Let's take a quick break.
Starting to find his rhythm.
Yeah, he's gliding with the ball. You know, it's such an elegant player.
Great pass, great goal for France. Mbappe draws level with Olivier Giroud on 57 goals.
You have to give, to Mbappe, what a run coming, a dagger run inside the box, and a finish, first touch back in the net, and it's well deserved. We've seen the second half.
I am Chef Ombachi. Today I'm cooking ugali na Ajab Premium Maize Meal. Boil water, done. Add Ajab Premium Maize Meal. Done. Grab your mwiko and stir the mixture. Enjoy the amazing aroma. Enjoy incredibly soft ugali. Done. Ingia ligi ya kipekee na Ajab Premium Maize Meal.
The Salaries and Remuneration Commission, in collaboration with stakeholders, will host the National Productivity and Performance Conference to be held from 17 to 19 June 2026 at the Kenya School of Government in Nairobi under the theme Productivity for Fiscal Sustainability and Efficient Service Delivery. The conference will set the direction for a future where Kenya's public service is productive, efficient, and fiscally sustainable.
Welcome back and many thanks for keeping it Channel 1. Elsewhere, residents of Kisoko in Nambale constituency, Busia County, have called on security agencies to intervene and initiate an investigation after a 3 million Kenya shilling water project was destroyed by unknown persons on Tuesday night at Kisoko Boys Primary School. Speaking at the project site, irate residents lamented that the project was expected to benefit not just the school, but also Kisoko community in general.
Shida hii, lakini mtu amekuja kaziba shimo hilo kwa kutumia mchanga. Tulijua maji yangetusaidia sana katika kupikia wanafunzi chakula chao cha mchana, katika mambo ya irrigation kwa shamba letu la agriculture kule chini, na pia kwa matumizi yao wakati wa michezo. Shule zinapojumuika hapa kwa michezo, wamekuwa wakitumia maji haya kuyakunywa. Uchunguzi ufanywe kiharaka, mtu aliyehusika apate kushikwa.
Condemn that act kabisa. The action shall be taken. We shall involve police. Sisi wenyewe hapa tutafanya investigation yetu na tunataka mradi uendelee. ule mradi wowote, mimi kama naibu chifu wa eneo hili, mradi wote ambaye umeletwa hapa mimi na ukaribisha, na mtu ambaye anataka kuharibu huo mradi sitakubali kabisa.
Another news, the Central Organization of Trade Unions, KOTU, has welcomed the ruling by the Employment and Labor Relations Court in Mombasa that ruled in favor of casual workers outsourced by employment companies in the country. KOTU boss Francis Atuoli says that the ruling paves way for such workers to join their preferred union and subscribe to a collective bargaining agreement, CBA, that will ensure they are remunerated appropriately.
The 38-page ruling by Lady Justice Monica Mbaru, which was brought by the Kenya Plantation and Agriculture Workers Union, will see workers in industries and companies not taken advantage of and discriminated against.
Employers and those who are involved, because we have so many agencies, private companies that have hired people that they use them as merchandise, as slave trade to whoever wants to hire them. And then they are underpaid. You find that somebody who comes to your enterprise or he has been employed where you are working, you are doing the same job, the same education you have, and this person is paid a half of what you are getting.
KOTU boss Francis Atuoli says that the ruling paves way for the laborers to join their preferred unions and subscribe to a collective bargaining agreement that will ensure they are paid appropriately to better their lives.
These people will now be allowed to join a union of their own choice, and two, they would be paid as per the collective bargaining agreement existing where they are hired to work. That is the biggest achievement.
Atuoli says that KOTU will forward the ruling and their further recommendations to the Labour Ministry to ensure it is forwarded to Parliament for further enforcement to protect the thousands of workers in this sector.
This outsourced person should also, if not a member of any trade union, be allowed to subscribe to an agency fee so that they can equally enjoy terms and conditions of service of that particular enterprise. There shall be no discrimination of any kind between the permanent employee and this outsourced person from where they're working.
Atuoli also defended the union from remarks attributed by the Linda Mwananchi political faction that it has failed to protect workers from taxation.
So many Kenyans are benefited out of that particular 12% general wage increase and 15% minimum wage in agriculture, total of 27%. Is that a dead trade union? Not doing it.
Abdiaziz Hashim for Lunchtime News.
Time to make sense of shillings and cents in business. Kenya has sufficient fuel stocks to meet domestic demand for more than a month, even as storage capacity is being expanded to bolster supplies. Petroleum Principal Secretary Kelo Harsama says investments in storage, infrastructure and supply chain systems are key in safeguarding long-term energy security to support economic activity.
How are you? Petroleum Principal Secretary Kelo Harsama says there are adequate fuel reserves and supply systems to support stable fuel supplies across the country. Speaking after an inspection tour of key petroleum facilities in Mombasa, Harsama said additional fuel cargo shipments are expected in Kenya in the coming weeks.
We have enough supply of fuel lasting over 1 month. And we'll still have several vessels arriving to offload the fuel cargo to sufficiently satisfy the demand for Kenyans. Therefore, we are far ahead of many countries in this region as far as regulation and supply of fuel is concerned.
The PS said the government is focusing on strengthening strategic fuel infrastructure to enhance supply reliability and shield consumers from volatility in global energy markets. Part of that strategy includes the ongoing construction of the Taifa Gas LPG import and storage terminal at the Dongokundu Special Economic Zone. The project is expected to boost Kenya's liquefied petroleum gas handling capacity and support growing demand for cleaner cooking.
This is in line with the government's intention to promote investments in gas storage in Kenya to ensure that we satisfy the demand for gas consumption in Kenya.
The inspection covered fuel storage facilities operated by the Kenya Pipeline Company, as well as fuel discharge operations at the port of Mombasa. Nduta Mokami for Lunchtime News.
Now, Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi has defended the Electronic Government Procurement or EGP system against criticism, saying the platform is operating effectively and is helping to strengthen oversight of public spending. Mbadi told the Senate that 20 counties have transitioned to the Electronic Government Procurement system. He says 9,800 tenders and more than 2,600 contracts worth 9 billion shillings have been processed on the system.
How much has the government saved so far by transitioning to EGP Kenya, and has there been an improvement in the efficiency of procurement processes since the transition? There is no verified figure for total savings realized from the EGP rollout yet, as the system is in the initial phase of takeoff. The numbers in most public sources remain projections or anticipated savings, not confirmed by independent audits. However, there are several qualitative and structural improvements reported so far in terms of reduced procurement times, cycle time, greater transparency, tighter integration with financial tax systems, and built-in audit trails.
All the governors who appear before us in CPIC, when you ask the reason why they have not procured drugs in hospitals, they say it's because this system is not working. Mr. Speaker, my question to the minister is there a deliberate effort to make sure that this system is not stalling the issue of essential services in our counties? Among them, drugs, billing for water services in the counties.
Excuses in the sense that there is no essential service, whether at the national government level or at the county level, that has been frustrated in terms of procurement because of this system. And by the way, there is no reason why you cannot use this platform for even essential services. But we have given exemptions where a procuring entity has hit or met some headwinds and the services are essential. So it cannot be true that someone can come and tell the Senate authoritatively that they have not been able to procure because of the platform.
Very well, in that report, Electronic GP, it takes us to our interactive segment. And as mentioned earlier on today, we are looking at automating emergency services, be it medical, accident, or even tragedies like fire. And you bear me witness as a Kenyan that the response time has been wanting. Not one, not twice. We've seen fire brigade being pelted with stones by Kenyans because they have arrived hours after the fire has really decimated everything. And at the helm of Matters Emergency, allow me to introduce Danielle Motian, who is the founder and CEO of Rescue Pal.
Rescue Pal, yes.
Rescue Pal Limited. And you have been on this space for a number of years.
Yeah.
And maybe just to give an insight of what exactly you do is that it's an emergency response platform that seeks to improve access to critical emergency services through digital innovation. And without further ado, allow me to welcome Danielle. Karibu sana to the program.
Thank you so much.
Where do you begin? What is the state of emergency responses in Kenya? I just mentioned that we have seen places where the fire brigade arrives hours after the fire has already consumed everything.
So to start with, everyone I interact with, I first start with the data that we gathered as Rescue Pal. Because one thing I understand is we will not solve the problem with the same tools. We have to approach it from a different angle. And for us, we did a visibility study, and this is totally independent from any other body. And from our own analysis, we found out that 97% of Kenyans would not call for an emergency responder because most Kenyans don't prepare for emergencies at all. Percent of the 3% are very sure if they call for emergency responder, they would actually get the service they require. And you look at the background of those individuals, they tend to be influential people or people with good positions at work. So you're left with majority of Kenyans wondering what they should do. We are not prepared, we are not equipped, we are not guided in how to handle emergencies any given time. Be it choking, be it now it's a school burning down. The individuals themselves are not prepared. And you find 90% of the time, actually 90 to 95% of the time, casualties and the people surrounding the casualty, the first people with the casualties, do not know what to do. So when our approach is very simple, we are first trying to bring back the responsibility to every single civilian, every single person within our country, because to improve our emergency response is not a one person or one company's responsibility. So we are getting into different communities and training them. Yeah.
I know it's a very emotive question and a discussion when we talk about school fires. We had over 20 boys burned about 2 years ago. We had 16 about 2 weeks ago. From your assessment, using digital innovation, could we have saved more lives than were saved that day?
First and foremost, from my opinion, when it comes to schools, and this is something I'm preaching to any school that allows us to go in and train them. Training, you cannot train students one day. You take a whole day, train them on fire, first aid, and you expect them to remember. Yet you're also teaching them math, you're teaching them science, you're teaching them geography, 1,000 things to remember. Even if you ask a corporate, then corporates are required to train their staff annually or quarterly, whichever. And you find that when you go for that training, it's a whole day intense training, and then you meet next year again. So you have a lot to remember. Everything is important and it's a lot. What happens? You tend to forget everything. So the first approach that every school that I would actually give to is every school should have a club for first aid, or you brand it as emergency response. Every day, once a week, every student should be trained on emergency response. And when I say emergency response, I'm talking about first aid, fire, self-defense, because there's the issues of kidnapping and abductions are increasing. So this should be introduced into these schools. Other than that, students themselves might start being aware of their surroundings more and start preparing. If I'm really sending my condolences to the families with all my heart. And that's a really, really sad story. But at the end of the day, if their schools are to learn from this, is first, you need to prepare everybody. Don't assume that you are the teacher, you'll handle the situation. You might be cut off communication with the person receiving the attack or injury. So at this moment, it needs preparation. We are not preparing for the worst. Yes, we prepare for the worst, but we don't imagine the worst. So now that is what I will say to the schools.
And now, what is the role of digital platforms in saving lives? And that is where companies like Rescue Pal come in. I want you to give us a practical example. Let's assume there's a fire somewhere. How does technology and digital innovations come in?
Yes. First and foremost, when we started our talk, you've seen me rotating around on preparedness, less of the digital.
Yes.
Because the idea is very simple. I have to first prepare you. Once you're prepared, then I give you a tool. I see the app being a tool, not a main solution. Because if you're majorly prepared, the app is very easy to navigate, because it works like a digital taxi, whereby you are required to subscribe to it, and the subscription comes in as with its benefits. You find ambulance for free. Depending on the package you pick, you are covered in some areas. Because one of the costs, or one of the reasons people don't actually call for emergency responders, is because they assume it's expensive. And it's an emergency. It emerges, it ambushes you. And if you look at the statistics, 2% of the population are insured. So we are remaining with 98 who are focused on what they have. And the economy of actually globally, it's very unstable. So people tend to worry. So when you have the app, we are giving it at a very affordable rate. We are looking at the mwananchi, the low-incoming person, what can they afford? They're looking at the rider. Can they afford 170 shillings a month? Then we can give you protection with that, at least something that comes with that. So the platform, you can, let me say, you can order for an ambulance, because one of the challenges that people have is, where do I start from? I want this particular brand, but they don't operate in your area. So what Rescue Pal does is you're bringing every shareholder under this one umbrella. And our work is to get into every, every community, create a partnership, train people, bring back the confidence. You find police stations nearest to you. You are new in Kitale, you don't know the nearest police station. Then you get on the app, it will get you there. You'll find a section for missing persons. You're looking for someone, or you have a person you don't know where to start from. The platform offers you that. You can get on the platform, look at the healthcare facilities around your area. So you're trying to save time. We are trying to make it as efficient as possible. So the platform, as we are looking at it, we are looking at it as a tool that makes your work, you as a trained individual, to make it easier. Even those who are not trained, there are videos on the platform to guide you. So you just get on the platform, you request for an ambulance, either an ambulance, and now we have introduced rider EMRs. And the beauty of this is that if you get into an accident, you don't have to deal with the crowd. You can actually order for a rider to come and help you manage the scene. They can put the casualty in a recovery position as you wait for the ambulance. And we can all agree that riders are faster than any other tool on the road. Speak of a cab, they are faster than that. They are faster than the ambulance themselves. We have a section of riders where we have dedicated, they're not fully trained, so they do ambulance escorts. So we tend to pave way. We tend to go ahead of the ambulance and say there's an ambulance behind you, kindly make a way. So these small things that will enable both the responders that you are aware of, name them, we are talking and working together with them.
And how do you ensure that, you know, you gave a practical example, like more or less like ordering on Uber, for example.
Yes.
And you really want to link somebody with a responder.
Yes.
How do you ensure that they are legit? Because even we have issues with cab services sometimes. How do you, and you know, maybe you are trying to save a life.
Yes, so first and foremost, there's an onboarding process. It's not just anyone. So we first sit down with ambulances or people who are already operating and their qualifications and the standards that they have to meet. And as a company, we do our own due diligence. After that, we give them an access to the platform whereby they will get an alert. And once they get an alert, and we have secured payment for the responders, because that's another issue that responders have. We are responding, who's going to pay us? So we have secured payment for them. So once you request, the alert goes to the nearest, most available responder. Yes.
And finally, unfortunately, we are running out of time. But my question is, I'm looking at lack of information. Many people don't know that this is something that exists, and the way they can be able to get help. How can we ensure that we have, you know, done away with these loopholes and get that information out so that people know that indeed it's a building that has collapsed, it's an accident, it's fire, they can get help and amply.
Okay. So, first and foremost, I think I'll start by urging the public that you should have the urge of being prepared. Not because something is going to, or you imagining the worst, but just be prepared because it will make your work easier in case anything happens. So if you have a local person who can train you or a local company, go, let them train you. If you have confidence, you now know Rescue Pal. Reach out to us on our social media. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Yeah, we train you, then we give you the tool, because the app has a lot to offer. I think if you're to discuss it, to be more than an hour. Yes, yes.
Thank you, Danielle
so much.
Motian,
Yes.
founder and CEO, Rescue Pal Limited, a company that is responding to emergencies of all kinds via automation. And something that she has mentioned is we need to get the information out, and indeed we can get help, and especially when it comes to the tragedies that usually befell or usually befall our country, or those which had befell, so that we may not go back there again. Anyway, thank you so much for that. We need more time to discuss this, but for now, allow me to continue with our business news, where a new agriculture strategy has been launched seeking to modernize the sector through expanded digital services, private investment, and value chain reforms over the next 5 years. Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe said the Kenya AgriConnect Compact 2025-2030 would accelerate the transition from subsistence farming to a more technology-driven and commercially oriented system.
Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe says the Kenya AgriConnect Compact 2025-2030 plan will support the rollout of digital extension services, agri-tech platforms for market tracking, and improve post-harvest handling systems to reduce losses.
The departure point of the Agri-Compact is agricultural job creation. That's the departure point. As we talk about food sustainability, as we talk about food security, food independence, it is through the creation of these jobs that we end up being food independent.
The Kenya AgriConnect Compact outlines a financing framework involving $3.8 billion in public funds, design, finance, and risk-sharing mechanisms. Kagwe says the initiative will strengthen value chain in sectors such as dairy, horticulture, and edible oils by improving access to markets and financing.
You are hitting many birds with one stone. You are creating the export market for our animals. You are creating meat market for our animals. You are creating jobs at the same time. And that's why I said, if your departure point is to create the jobs, then you will succeed in this compact.
Implementation of the program, that will be supported by development partners and private sector groups, will result in reductions in food imports, particularly maize and rice, while increasing agricultural exports through upgraded infrastructure and structured trading systems.
Is for those of you in the private sector to come with the ideas that you want to use, where you want to fit in the value chain, whether you are going to on-farm produce, as in the rice that I'm talking about, whether you are going to be a processor, as in the tea or the tomatoes or the meat packing that you are talking about, whether we are going to be a marketer or building of markets.
He says the reforms are expected to create 2.8 million jobs by the year 2030 across production, processing, logistics, and agribusiness services.
The role of government is to facilitate the private sector to create the jobs that we want to create. Good jobs, new jobs, value jobs.
Jackie Wimbiru, Lunchtime News.
I feel Qingdao, a coastal Chinese city best known for its beaches and historic architecture, is emerging as a major center for film production as China expands its ambition in the global entertainment industry. Backed by advanced production facilities and growing investment, Qingdao is positioning itself as a key hub in China's drive to become a leading player in the global film market. Regina Manyara files the following report.
Designated as China's first UNESCO City of Film, Qingdao is key to the nation's ambition to becoming a high-tech foundation hub. At the center of this transformation is a Qingdao Oriental movie metropolis, a sprawling mega complex featuring 40 state-of-the-art sound stages, including a specialized underwater production.
And see, from the military truck to the torpedoes to the missiles to the nuclear submarine, they are fake actually, but they look like the real one, okay?
To attract global productions, China offers attractive incentives covering up to 40% of local production costs.
Because the movie has been released, and now this place is totally open to the movie fans, to the kids, to the students, as long as they buy the tickets. They can get in and to see the whole movie set.
Qingdao is pioneering tech-led filmmaking, having developed China's first full-process virtual production platform, enabling filmmakers to visualize complex scenes digitally before shooting, drastically reducing costs and time. The strategy positions China as both a partner and competitor to established hubs, creating an ecosystem of nearly 1,200 film-related businesses to provide end-to-end services. As China continues to attract filmmakers from across Asia and Africa, as well as beyond, it is crafting a new narrative in global cinema. One built on cutting-edge technology, massive investment, and a commitment to cultural exchange.
When you talk about art, you're looking at language and color, but here on the Chinese movie metropolis, it's a whole different story, where art finds a nexus that is powered by technology, making your dreams actual realities, or realities parts of your dreaming.
From Qingdao, it's time for sports. Nairobi City Thunder have received a major boost ahead of the remainder of the 2026 season after securing a 10 million shilling sponsorship deal from I&M Bank. The investment is expected to strengthen the club's preparations for both domestic and continental competitions as they continue with their rise in African basketball. The sponsorship will support Nairobi City Thunder's operations and participation in upcoming tournaments, helping the club meet the demands of competing at the highest level. Thunder have emerged as one of Kenya's top basketball sides, winning back-to-back unbeaten Kenya National Basketball League titles and becoming the first Kenyan club to qualify for the Basketball Africa League. Now to the World Cup, where Lionel Messi scored a hat-trick as defending champions Argentina began their 2026 FIFA World Cup campaign with a 3-0 win against Algeria in Group J. Meanwhile, France defeated Senegal in the Group I encounter and played in New York. Messi opened the scoring in the 17th minute before adding a second from close range after the break.